Yeah. והנה למ"ח, והנה מעטה יש להבן דרך פרט יסר והנה לבושים נחשב בדיבר מעשה חולו, כמו שנאמר לבושים כתקינה סלוין חולו, ולזה יש להקטן תחילה שרש שמוקר לבחינת האיסיאס, ומש לפעמים נקרא בשם כלים ולפעמים בשם לבושים. ואחר כך התבא דרך פרט בחינת רוחב עליה מלכות התבונה בינה עד רואים המיילס חולו. והנה שרש האיסיאס הוא בעצם הנפש ממש. שהנפש מלא איסיאס כידוע. In other words, the letters are higher than anything. והיינו מתחילת עצם מסבוסה ובבייס איפנים באיסיאס המחשבה ואיסיאס הדיבור. There is already in the soul איסיאס המחשבה ואיסיאס הדיבור. היינו מיד שתתהווה עצם הנפש, מיוחדים בה איסיס מחשב וכולם בה בעצם, כמו שכל תנועת החי בחי חולו, ויצם ובויקים לגילוי מחשב וגילוי מדרגס. דמיין וציר ולא איסיס, כלל. One kind of Isis is actually imagination of picture without actual letters of speech. And this an animal also has. V'Isis pshutim ubulbolim bli tira v'chivar inyan davar, and just letters of blabbering. They're all mixed up. V'Isis metzorofim al pi machshavei Yunus, and Isis are made up into a thought through the machshavei Yunus, through an analysis of a subject. V'kach yesh be'etzem hanefesh pinas Isis hadibur, and the same thing, there's an etzem hanefesh, also Isis hadibur, sharanekra nefesh hamdaberes, a ruach memalala. It's not talk. In other words, we're called talking man, not Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens means thinking man. According to Chassidus and Kabbalah, we're called talking man. V'kulam ba be'etzem, v'yetzem legilui ketnuas achai v'chai gavna, kedibur shel malachim, kedektib b'kora zel zeh. Kulu. V'hu kam ken begimel madregas. And there's also, Hadibur is also in 3 levels. Chaymer HaPoshet Shekol Eit V'Eit, Hanikra Hevel Ruach Hadibur. In other words, the Chaymer HaPoshet is the actual sound, even before it has letters in it. Same like the Dimion is before, the Dimion before it has letters in it. In other words, in the sound, like we said in the sound, there's already a Midah over there. And this Dibur also, an animal also has. The Chaymer Pashut and the imagination, both at the first level, animal also have. So like in a dog, you can hear from his voice if he's happy like he or sad like he goes, a dog goes, woo, woo, woo. So he does have this Hevel Ruach HaDibur. So Isis, Aleph, Bez, Gimel, Dalet, Miyuchodim, Blit, Tiruf. The Chibur means the actual chituch of the letter itself, but not the combination of the letters. The Chibur Isis, and then the Isis in order in the speech. Shenikra Tura Shabedibur Baruch Mamal Lafulu. Kma Bez Rufus Misabras, the Kedibur Amalachim Kulu. So these letters are already in the soul. And you say, what do you mean? How come the letters in the soul are 2 different kinds of letters? Isn't it really the same kind of letter, and it's just that the letters of speech is just really the letters of thought that is being revealed? And it's not really true. The letters of speech is a whole different thing. They come from the fact that he wants to talk. And when he wants to think and when he wants to talk, it's 2 different things. Even though that the letters of speech do have to come through the letters of thought, you can't talk without thinking. But actually, if you look even closer, you see that really it's the other way around. You can't think without talking, because the letters of speech are really higher. That's why we're called talking man. Not only that, that's one of the whole reasons that you have to. The Talmud Torah is after with talking and not with thinking, because talking activates thinking. Even though the talking has to come through the thinking, but really the talking is higher than the thinking. And that's the thing that you see, that when somebody can't talk in letters, he can't think in letters either. והנה, גם טרם שמתהווה מוקר לרוצן פשוט ותיינוק פשוט, means even before Kesser of Ein Sof. ויש איסיס הכלולים בעצם הנפש, which are higher than the spirits themselves. רק אחר הישהבוס הרוצן, except that after the הישהבוס הרוצן, יצן ליאס פינס גילול הרוצן. And really, actually, even the Ratzon itself has to be made up of letters in the first place that say that this is Ratzon and not something else.
Right.
V'nikra and Oisi is the Ratzon, and then they're called, but he's talking after the Hisavus HaRatzon. But really, before the Hisavus HaRatzon, there's also Oisius, and the Ratzon is Mishaveh Dafka from the Oisius. And the Oisius are basically the koichos in the nefesh itself to define things. And this is the koyach in the etzem in the etzem of the Ein Sof, and it comes even before the light. The kalim, meaning the Oisius, have a higher shrivish than the light itself. And even the light of the infinite light in the Ein Sof, meaning the Or Ein Sof, has to come from a Maimer Yehi Oyer that preceded it, which is made out of letters. So the same like there's a Maimer Yehi Oyer farther down, which is from Malchus of Atzilus to becoming Kesser of Bria, which is, the 10 Maimoros from Malchus of Atzilus. Really, even the original infinite light had to come into being from the fact that the Eibishter said that he wanted it.
Right.
And even the first Ratzon, the Ratzon HaPashut, had to come from the fact that the Eibishter decided that there should be a Ratzon. Otherwise, there would be no Ratzon. It doesn't have to be a Ratzon. It doesn't have to be a Ratzon. It doesn't have to be a Tainuk. As far as the Eibishter himself is concerned, it's just the Eibishter, and there's not even a Ratzon HaPashut. And you say, so what is there? What do you mean? How does he think? How does he... And the thing is, he doesn't have to think. He's not like us. What is really the Atzmuso Mahuso, we don't really know. But he does have letters. And the letters preceded, and what does it mean he has letters? That he has letters that can define anything that he wants to define. That's what it means, letters. And really, even the Ratzon HaPashut is already a definition. Even though it's Pashut and it really doesn't exist and all that kind of stuff, that's in relation to what's lowered in it. But in relation to the Eibishter, it's already in a way of letters.
So these letters are the Koach HaGvul?
Not necessarily. Even the Koach HaGvul...
powers to define.
Even the Koach HaGvul comes from the letters, and even the Koach HaBligvul, which, like we said, the Eibin says the Koach HaBligvul, to decide that he wants a Koach HaBligvul is also from letters. And really, even the Koach HaGvul and Koach HaBligvul are not definitions of the Eibishters, but they're definitions by the Eibishter through the letters. That's why the Koach. That's not It's not like some people think that the koyach habilti gvul, that's the Eibishter. It's not.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay, but in other words, the koyach habilti gvul is also a definition.
Right. But a definition
Of
is a
bilti
gvul.
gvul. It's a definition of bilti gvul. So you say, what do you mean? The bilti gvul means bilti gvul.
Right.
Means without a gvul.
Definition.
So how is it a gvul of a bilti gvul? You say, well, if it's not a gvul of a bilti gvul, so how do you say bilti gvul? Not only that, bilti gvul means it's bilti gvul and not a gvul.
Right.
It's dafka bilti gvul. It means like if you're rich or poor. If you're rich, it means you're not poor.
Right.
I mean, in a way you can say, well, rich also includes poor because if you're rich, you also have $10. He says, yeah, you have $10, but you don't have a limitation of $10. So you're not poor. If you want, you can go past $10, which the whole thing by a poor person is you can't go past $10, which you don't have.
Right.
You know, so it's also... And that's like we're talking, like rich and poor is like big and small, but like if you go infinitely big and infinitely small, so infinitely big, same like rich means he's not poor, so infinite means he's not finite. And even if you say that finite is included inside of infinite, because if he's not finite, so that means he's not infinite, because he's missing something.
Right.
But it's not the same thing like I'm finite.
Right.
I'm finite and I'm stuck with it.
Right.
Infinite means if he wants to be, he can be finite.
Right.
Like if he wants, he can spend only $10. But if he wants, but I can't do that. I say, well, if I want, I can fly. No, I can't fly. So...
Okay, so you really can't say that the letters are koach hagvul because that's only in reference to the finite. Whereas this is something that can define both the finite
it's not
and the
just to
infinite.
define, it's what makes it what it is.
Right.
It's how he says that this is, he has the power to say or do anything that he wants.
Right.
So, we're saying the machshava dibur ma'aseh. How does he has the power to say and do anything he wants? How does he do it? It's all the letters. What does it mean, letters? Letters means the various tnuos of what he can do. He can do anything.
Right.
And if he wants, he also has a tnua of no tnua. He doesn't have to do anything at all.
Right.
And what these letters are, it doesn't mean they're actually letters. It means it's a whole thing is a total hiyuli.
Right.
Even like the letters in us. That in us it's already sort of is like a letter. And it's not really totally infinite and stuff like that. But the thing is that when you're sleeping, really all the letters are there.
Right.
And everything that comes out, like what you see and what you hear and what you say and what you think and what you do, all comes in letters.
Right.
Which the letters were already there. Not only that, even the emotions come in letters. That
Right.
says that it's this emotion. And even the hiyuli emotions
Right.
has to come in, you have to say that it comes in letters. And that's the chaymer HaPashut. It means
Right.
that that's almost like like you would say that that's what the Eibishter is letters. And that's why, in a way, that's the highest thing is dafka what the little babies do. They say Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalet. It's like a Shal Beis Rabban. When it just first starts, that's, in a way, it's called the highest thing. And the reason why...
What baby does is what it says over here, that it's so jumbled up.
What?
The first thing a baby does is what it says over here about the letters of being all jumbled up. You know, baby talk.
Okay, but no, there's even before that. Even before that where it's just a voice. And that's the whole thing of the shofar. The shofar is just a voice.
Right.
That's the first level that he really even an animal has. There's just a voice.
Right.
And like upstairs, it says upstairs is backwards. So what's the lowest down here is the highest up there. So in other words, the plain voice before even the Hitbonenut HaOisius,
right,
that's the highest level up there. It means there's nothing there. There's not really even letters there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the chaimer of the letters, the chaimer HaPashut, that all the letters can come out of.
So why does it say here, chomer pashut shel kol ot ve'ot?
Where?
That's what he said, how he says it. Ugam can begil madrigot, chomer pashut
Right.
shel kol ot ve'ot.
Right. Right, it's not the
Sounds
letters.
like it's not just a simple voice, but that there's
In the simple
letters.
voice, but that's the chaimer HaPashut of every single letter. That is the chaimer HaPashut. In any letter that you say, there's the chaimer HaPashut, the voice in it.
But
not
the voice
just
is really the vowels, which is not the letter itself.
no, not the vowels.
The voice is the vowel.
No, not the vowels. Not the vowels. The vowels are also made up of a voice. There's a simple voice, the hevel. It's the basic voice of the letter, but not just a sound that somebody's making a sound, but somebody's making a voice of a letter that he wants to say something. Like the shofar is not just a plain sound. It's a sound of supplication. But it's a plain sound.
Right.
So that's your basic thing. Is not the actual chituch of the letters. The chituch of the letter, that's the second level. The chituch is Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalet.
Right.
That's the actual chituch of the actual, where it's already a letter. The first one is the hevel ruach hadibur, the hevel, the wind.
The wind.
But not a wind of just when you're breathing, but the wind when you want to talk, that you're pushing out a letter.
Right.
והנה גם טרם שמסהב מוקר לרוצן פשוט ותיינוק פשוט, כבר יש עיסיס הכלולים בעצם הנפש, רק אחר יסהבוס הרוצן יוצאים, then these letters go out and become lower letters, lios pinas gilui לרוצן, then they become the kalim of the rotzen, and they reveal the rotzen. The nikrin, and then they're not the oasis of the atmos anymore, then the oasis the rotzen. Shahu Prinas Gilui HaRotzen Liyesh V'Dover Ma B'Metzius Rotzen. Shezeu Ikar Inyan HaOisis B'Etzem HaNefesh She'eno Rak Prinas Gilui Or Etzem HaNefesh B'Kol Eze Prinas Yesh V'Metzius Dover Ma. That's what the Oasis is. Any kind of revelation or something in a way of a yesh, or an existence of something, al yedei ha'oisius, that will come later through the oisius, yetze begilui mechpinas Yuli Anelam Chuli, of the Yuli Anelam of the oisius and Etzem HaNefesh. Any kind of a somethingness, and this is the actual, the letters are the somethingness of the thing. So, in the soul, the fact that the soul has letters is also its somethingness.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing, the letters, what it says that in the Eibishter is also letters. Why? Because he's the Yesh Amiti.
Right.
And therefore he can make any kind of something that he wants. And that's what a letter actually is. That's what you make somethings with. Like, for instance, if you're going to make a little toy, you take a knife and you make wood out of it, the wood with a knife, and you make a little toy.
Right.
That's done with letters. With various tluos, and there's the letters of the tzura, which is the demoyan, like you said before, the picture of the thing.
Right.
And anything has to do with letters. Commercial verb, L'kuti Amon, B'chof Beis, Eisiyah, Shekvuim B'nefesh, Shehem Kof Beis Koiches. Kof Beis Tnuas HaNefesh, Chulu. It's 22 movements of the soul. While Yedei Zeh Yuchal HaRotzen Lova B'gilui V'or HaSechel, and through the letters, if the Rotzen didn't have letters coming after the Rotzen, it has to have letters coming before to make it into the Rotzen. But then it has to have its own letters also. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to come into revelation into the seichel. Ve'lulei eskolas harotzen b'pchinas oisius, the hainu ma shenira lemahus u'metzius rotzen, so that you know what this rotzen is, what this rotzen is, and what its metzius is. Haya ba harotzen ha'atzmi, lo haya ba harotzen ha'atzmi anelam b'lavush. Acher mimohus lemohus. It would not be able to come into a different lavush and go from one mohus to another mohus. From a mohus of a rotzen to a mohus of a seichel. So who prinas a rotzen anira v'nigla b'seichel v'tam l'rotzen keyadua. In other words, the chokhmah sima of arich.
Right. The rationale.
The rationale for the rotzen.
Right.
He's not even talking about actual seichel yet. He's talking about the seichel of the rotzen.
Right.
B'day l'mevin. B'tach b'seichel v'tam l'rotzen. Shenikra chokhmah sheberotzen, ma shenira lemetzias tam l'rotzen, so who prinas oisius. That's also oisius. Sheboi al yedei zeh yered mimohus lemohus amidus sheberotzen. He goes from this mohus of the seichel of the rotzen to the mohus of the midus sheberotzen. Ma abba sheberotzen, shegam who ein rak metzias rotzen, it's also a rotzen. It's enclosed in mahus of love. That because he wants this thing, he loves it. And that's why Abba is Loshan Ava. V'hei
Chasadim. Chasadim.
Oh, here it says, hey, Aleph. Hey, Chasadim, amitparsim mechochma bina chulu. So, the love means that that there's original rotzen, and because the chochma and bina spread it out to be an emotion of love. V'oisa harotzen atzmai hu b'seichel v'tam l'rotzen. And this same rotzen itself, which is the higher than the seichel v'tam l'rotzen, it is also still in the seichel v'tam l'rotzen. V'hu etzem harotzen li'es adayin l'mayla me'aseichel v'tam chulu. It's included inside the seichel v'tam. Like we said before, that the rotzen is included in everything. Even in the ava and the midos also is like that. V'amnam al pi ha'oisius nishtanda v'nireh V'lamayla min ha'seichel, u'b'seichel, u'b'midos chulu. Through the oisius, they can change over from higher than seichel to seichel, and to lower than seichel, into the midos. They can yesh oisius lamidos, and same thing. The midos also have letters. Ma shenira shahu ma shenira ahava sheberotzen b'metzius yesh chulu, and that's how the ahava of the rotzen. And now we're still talking in rotzen yet. We didn't even get the actual seichel or midos yet. We're not even to atzilus yet. He's still talking. The whole thing is an arich. Ad harotzen sheb machshava dibur u'maisa. In other words, Malchus of the Rotzen, Lakulam yesh pinas oisius. Ad oisius harotzen shebemaisa. Not the actual maisa, the rotzen for the maisa, which is the end of Malchus of Arich. Shamaisa oile b'tzaynei, when the maisa comes up in his rotzen, that he wants to do such and such a thing. Sheyesh oisius miyuchodim, it has special kind of letters. They can, but these are all letters of Ratzon, but within the letters of Ratzon is also different kind of letters of Ratzon. They can al derech Rebbe Seichel she'achar haratzon. And then, later on, in the same way, from the Ratzon, if there was no Oisis, it couldn't go to the Seichel at all. And in the Seichel she'achar haratzon, she'im lo haya Seichel b'mtzias Oisis ha-Seichel, shehu b'chinas gilui ha-Seichel b'mtzias, if the seichel would not come into letters of its Metzius Ma, what it is, then how could there be a hitpailus to actual midos to come from the seichel? Shegam sham hu oisa seichel shahaya terem sha'ili da'ava v'ak shnitlabish maus ava. In other words, chesed of the seichel. Hulu and the rak al the aisius shabai. That's only through the aisius. They cannot there the aisius the midos machshava. The letters of midos that come in machshava, like we were talking in the last chapter. Im lo haya hamida b'metzius yesh ba'aisius ech mitlabeshes b'mohus machshava. How could it become included in a thought about it?
Right.
Like a guy who's sitting there, waiting for a job interview. And, oh, man, I'm really nervous. So nervousness is a midah.
Right.
But if the midah couldn't come into Asius, how could he think I'm really nervous?
Right.
So the letters, the midah itself has to have letters that came into machshava. And really, without the letters, there wouldn't have been a midah in the first place.
The whole midah that he's nervous is because he's thinking about the job interview.
Okay, but that came from the seichel. From
right,
the midah of the
saying.
Seichel. The seichel had
the
to
midah
have...
came out of the seichel.
The seichel had to have letters that are telling him, according to his analysis. In other words, he knows certain analysis. He knows what kind of an employer this is, and what kind of job this is, and what it pays, and how much he wants it, and how he can get his wife the swimming pool if he gets this job.
Right, and because of those letters...
And he knows his training, and he knows that there's other guys looking for this job also have good training. And all it is, with the Chochmah and Bina, the Chochmah that looks over the whole thing, and the Bina that analyzes all the different things, goes into Malchus of Tvuna. And from Malchus of Tvuna comes a Machshava, that from that Machshava comes out the original Midah. And then the Midah goes up while he's sitting there, of nervousness, goes up in the hirhur, like we were talking before, that from the heart, it goes up to hirhur, to the hirhur liba, in the machshava. So that mamish, while he's sitting there, he already knows all this, and he's nervous. But now he's talking that out of this midah comes a machshava, the hirhurim. That, okay, so you're nervous, so fine, so okay, good, forget about it. No, but while he's sitting there, he's thinking, oh man, I wonder what they're going to ask me, and stuff like that, All of these letters are coming out of the midah. If the midah didn't have letters, so how could he be mahar here, whatever he's thinking while he's sitting there? If the midah was not a metzias yeshud oisius, ech mitlabeshes v'mos machshava chulu. They can oisius ha-machshava b'dibur chulu, the letters of thought when they get enclosed in the letters of speech. Nimtza al yedea oisius yesh Seder Hishtalshelut ila v'ilul, me'etzem ha-nefesh ad soif maisis. So you see that the whole Hishtalshelut, from the etzem ha-nefesh to the soif maisa, and therefore in the nimshal, the whole Hishtalshelut of the world into actual being in this final world here, comes from the atheists that are in the atmos, that are mishtalshel level after level into the Ratzon HaPashut, and from the Ratzon HaPashut to the Ana Emloch, and the letters of the Glif Glifu are Mishtalshel into the letters of the Rishimu, and the letters of the Rishimu are Mishtalshel into the letters of the Kabbalah, and that is Mishtalshel into the Machshava Keduma, and that's Mishtalshel into Ak, and that goes into Atzilus, etc., 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 all the way down to the speech of Malchus of Asiyah, which is Malchus of Asiyah, and that is Mishtalshel even farther down through the Sarim and the Mazolas and all of that business, all the way down to here.
I had to flip the tape. Okay, go ahead.
Right, and that is where all the snow that's outside here came from.
Right.
Or the weather that you have over there, and everything. The walls around you, the ground under your feet, the fact that the earth is pulling you down, and you're not flying off into the air. Everything. That's how it was Mishtalshel into Metzias Yesh. Otherwise, if there was no Metzias Yesh of letters upstairs, how could there be a Metzias Yesh down here? And that's the whole thing that we're saying about the Metzias Yesh. That upstairs, it's not abstract. It's a Metzias Yesh. Because the letters upstairs are bigger than the letters downstairs. In other words, one letter upstairs, like the letter Yud of the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei of Hishtalshelut, meaning Chochma Atzilus, or the Yud is Atzilus, includes in it all of these words from one letter.
Right.
That means it's a big Metzias Yesh. It's a bigger Metzias. Same like the rich guy and the poor guy.
Right.
In other words, the rich guy also has $10. It's not that he doesn't have $10. So the Yud upstairs includes all of these things, so imagine what's going on. This whole world came out of there. So what are you going to say, that there's less Metzias up there? Just the opposite.
Sure.
There's more Metzias up there. And that's why when you go all the way back up, that's called the Yesh HaMiti. That's a real something.
That's the absolute something.
Absolute. Right. That's absolute something. Absolute Vata. So, if there was no Metzias to this thing, and that's the whole thing also, like you see in the letters of Machshava that come out of the Midah. And this basically the Rebbe says in Tanya also, that you see that the Machshava that comes out is like nothing compared to the actual Midah. All these Hirhurim, the nervousness in the Hirhurim is nothing compared to the actual nervousness that he feels.
Right.
And that's nothing compared to how it is in his brain. Because in his brain there's all the reasons for it also. And that's nothing compared to how it is in the Ratzon, because the whole thing comes in the Ratzon. In the Ratzon, it's not just his job, it's a whole bunch of things. His wife, the swimming pool.
Right.
Sending his kids to college. All kinds of stuff. It gets bigger and bigger as you go up. Not only that, another thing is the fact that just because something is abstract doesn't mean it's less than something that's concrete.
Right.
Like we see nowadays with like things like software and stuff. Like we see this super rich guy, what's his name? Bill Gates.
Right.
That all of this money came out of an abstraction. And oodles and oodles of money came out of an abstraction. Whereas the guy that sells tomatoes, physical tomatoes, huh?
A lot of abstraction that had come out of.
Abstract ideas that he had.
Okay, Okay, every invention before it is produced.
Okay, but even once it's produced, it's software. It's letters. It's not like an actual physical thing. It's not like a tomato.
Right.
Or like a song. Like you have the Beatles.
It's intellectual property.
The Beatles made zillions of money out of songs. Which is just, even you say, well, it's a sound. Yeah, okay, it's a sound, but I got tomatoes.
Yeah, the software is like intellectual property. It's thoughts.
It's more abstract than tomatoes, isn't it?
It's more abstract than tomatoes. It's even more abstract than the song.
It's more abstract than the song also. And I'm not even talking the software once it was written. I'm talking the original idea, the nitzvah idea before the flash of Chokhmah. That's where it came from. Chokhmah, the Chaya Ba'aleh, all this money is coming out of a Chokhmah.
Right.
So, you see, all of this money is coming out of a Chokhmah, and out of tomatoes is not coming so much money. Not only that, there's some people make a lot of money on tomatoes, but you got to have a lot of tomatoes to come up with the same amount of money like one spark of Chokhmah.
Right.
You know, like people have like 20 supermarkets. But some people have 20 supermarkets, they still don't have money like Bill Gates.
Right.
You know, or like the Beatles. But what the Beatles have, they have what? 50 songs, 100 songs altogether. How many songs do they have already?
Maybe 100.
100 songs.
If that much.
100 songs.
If that much.
Or like Elvis. How many songs did he have already? 100 songs. The guy's dead already for how many years, and they're still making money on it.
Right.
You know. And there's some guys that have, like, you know, several supermarkets or whole big stores, like May Company, I don't think has the same kind of money like the Beatles.
Right.
You know, from a few songs. And money is money.
Yeah.
That's a solid thing. And even the money, you see that the money is, even the money is being kept really just an abstract software bank account. Well, where is this money actually? It's an idea. The money
even when you have the cash in your hand, it's really
it's an idea. It's not even gold anymore. It's a piece of paper that has an idea written on it.
Right.
So that you see that an idea can be money. Like all these guys says, I got $100 million in bank accounts. Where is it? It's all electronic.
Right.
It doesn't exist. It's ideas. It's theoretical numbers.
Right.
You know. So in our days, you can mamish see that just because something is abstract doesn't mean that it's less than a concrete thing. Just the opposite. You see that an abstract idea. The main thing is how much money can you make with it, right? You know,
right.
like what the Mittler Rebbe said, that how crass and Magushim the Americans are. You see from what they say, what's he worth?
Right.
When they say what's he worth, they don't say, oh, this guy, oh, he's worth really something. He's a big Talmid Chacham. He's a tzaddik. He's a parush. He's a this or that. No, what's he worth? Oh, he's worth $100 million.
Right.
Okay, but you see that even this $100 million is an abstraction. And even the fact that it could be in buildings and stuff, but it doesn't have to be in buildings. It can be an abstract property.
Right.
You know, so, and it's a something. You see, it's a something. Look at this guy. He can take, like Bill Gates. I mean, if he wants, he can buy buildings with it.
Right.
You know, physical buildings.
Right.
You know, and horses and, you know, whatever he wants. It's a something.
You can buy the tomatoes.
You can buy tomatoes, right. You can buy a lot of tomatoes with it. So, ונמצא על ידי האיסיס, יש בחינת השתלשלות אילו ואילו מעצם הנפש עד סוף מעשה. השורש האיסיס הוא בעצם הנפש ממש. ממש בעצם הנפש, and upstairs, the nimshal is na'atmo. ומכל זה יובן גם בשורש המחצב האיסיס בעצם הנפש, שמתהווים עם עצם אור הנפש כאחד, זה ממש one thing. It is עצם אור הנפש. כמו שמתהווה בחי כוח התנובה אימוי, when a chai is מתהווה, the koyach hatneva tnua, it's not like a separate thing that is added on, it's mitchave imui. Ulukahai gavna v'dalam even. Means it's mamish one thing. It's not that the Abish is full of letters, it's the same thing. Vanim shal mikol zeh, move on, it's the letters of Kol Yachol. Memele, the Eisha should be tiri lo, she'amar glif lifu chulu. It's with letters, the glif lifu. Hainu, pinas, Oisis ha'atzmiyim, the machshava v'dibur she'ba'atzmos erin saif. Small derech marshal, oisis ha'kvuim be'etzem ha'nefesh di'echid ha'chulu, v'gilum adregus ha'nal, in these three levels, to picture what you want. And the letters mixed up, and the letters fixed up according to what you want. Oisi ha'alol mishtalshali mimohus l'mohus. They go down from one mouse to another. Mami rosna poshut shalom machshava ana emloch. Slifna timtum ad gam barotzim v'sechel midas v'ach v'atik v'atik yamim v'arach anpin v'avo v'zun da'atzilus. Hakol nimshach v'yovid mizeh lezeh derech ila v'ilu b'shinui mohus l'mohus al yeftinas ha'eisi shel kol mohus. Shehu b'chinas gilui ha'yeshelo v'mtzius kanal. Ad b'chinas seif maises malchus da'atzilus. Shehi b'chinas eisis the maises the malchus da'atzilus. Ad malchus the malchus da'asiyah. Like what we said before. Still this word. Shevish ishavus oilam ha'shavim shalonu. Mashit bar b'sefer kuntres. Like this will be explained later. Shenikol hakol mash ne'emar kol shechafetz HaShem ba'atzmusei mamish. Also, the Poel Mamish down to here with Alamein.
Right.
Okay, you can turn the tape off now.